Hi, I'm Jen. This is my office. This is not where I sit and knit, but it is a little space in my house for myself. Thank you for hopefully sticking around. I realise that you're only 20 seconds in, so you know, you may already have taken against, and that's fine. I know that there is an awful lot of knitting content out there. I realise I'm not alone in putting something out there. Where I live, there are a couple of knitting groups, but they meet while I'm working, so I'm not able to participate. So I use YouTube channels as a knitting group. I sit on the sofa and I knit with somebody and they tell me what they're working on. And more and more and more recently, I've just kind of wanted to say back what I'm working on. Because I've kind of realised that although there are patterns that I do knit that everybody else is knitting, there's also patterns that I knit that I've not seen anybody else knit. So I think there might just be enough of a point of difference that this might be interesting to somebody, and if not, that's absolutely fine. I think I'm just at the point where I'm excited to tell people what I'm excited about, so I'm just gonna forge ahead and do it. And yeah, if you guys like it, that will be amazing, but if you don't, that's absolutely fine. I live on the southeast, in the southeast of England, along a river that Woolly Itchy Nose. The river leads to the North Sea, so we live along 70 miles of saltmarsh coast, with my husband, my 2 cats and my border collie. I work from home permanently, so this is my office. It's not a knitting office. I don't sit here and knit, but this is absolutely my space, decorated to my tastes, whereas the rest of it is a bit more of a collaboration. Don't really think they want floral things all around the house. So welcome. Pick up your knitting, don't pick up your knitting, grab a cup of tea, don't grab a cup of tea, make yourself comfortable, and hopefully you and I have something to talk about that you'll find interesting and I'll be excited to tell you about. So I'm going to follow exactly the same format as everybody else on the internet. I'm not going to relabel it as something funky and cool and punny, and I'm just going to go, this is what I'm wearing, these are my recent faux. I realise as this would be the first episode that it's a little bit of a Mickey take to say, oh, these are my faux this week. They're not this week at all. What I've done is I've picked the last 3 that I've finished in recent history. And yeah, and then we'll go through whips and maybe some books and TV/movies that I have been watching and would highly recommend. So I'm wearing the Nurtured sweater by Andrea Mowry. It doesn't have the texture that her pattern does. I wanted just a plain crop jumper. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about it right now. Sometimes I feel as if there's a little bit too much fabric. I'm not too sure how I feel about it. I have clearly knit the cuffs too long, but actually I quite like how snugly it feels to have them pulled back. I've had to pull out the hem and re-knit it because it wasn't quite long enough. I am quite a busty person. I don't mind you all knowing that it's a 37-inch bust, but it can fluctuate up to a 39. Such is life. And the problem with that when you are looking at things like a cropped jumper is that it will suddenly feel like it's jumped up you. So I did finish this quite a while ago and ended up having to rip back and knit a little bit further and get it the length that I actually want. So yeah, I think that's kind of the length that I want. I also want to wear it with long skirts, and yeah, quite happy with it. It's knit in Lion Brand Fisherman's wool. I can't remember the colourway. 1 second. Where would that be? There you go. Okay, so it is brown heather. So I really like this wool. It's 100% wool, which is something that I've been kind of thinking more about in the last maybe 9 or 12 months. Me and my husband watched a documentary on Netflix that I can't remember the name of, but I will write it in the box below, where I will put everything else. And it was about plastics and fast fashion, and it kind of made me review my wardrobe, both shop bought and handmade, and made me kind of reflect on, I don't want microplastics. As I said, we live near the sea, we live on a river, my other half has a boat, so I've always wanted to care for the environment. We use non-toxic cleaning products, and I hadn't made that leap until I watched that documentary that actually there's plastics in your clothes as well, and there's plastics in your wool stash. And so I've been moving away from nylon and acrylic and moving more into 100% wool. I'm not sensitive, so that's fine for me. My other half is, but he's only ever asked me to knit him a couple of things, and he's just as clued up on stuff like that. So for one, he picked a merino DK, and for the other one, he picked this wool, but he's planning to not wear it close to skin. He's always going to have a barrier in between. So I will talk about his jumper next time, because it's my most recent finished object, but it's currently having a bath waiting to be blocked, because hello September in England, we are right in that middling gap where it's not cold enough to put the heating on or the fire on in our case, and it's also a bit damp and a bit rainy and not warm enough to dry your clothes on the washing line any longer. So I haven't wanted to block an Aran weight sweater for him if the first time it doesn't dry properly and it smells damp forever. That would be horrendous. So yeah, this is an Aran weight jumper in lime brown Fisherman's wool, nurtured by Andrea Mowry. So the first finished object I'm going to show you is called Colour Block Patchwork Cardigan by J.W. Anderson. It is a replica of a Harry Styles cardigan. So this is definitely one of those things, I'm just looking up on my phone so I can show you, where I haven't seen anyone on any of the podcasts make this. It was made in Yarnsmiths chunky acrylic wool. So I started this 18 months ago, so that's prior to my awakening of, okay, maybe we use less acrylic. It is a replica of this, and it's for my cousin, who is 10 years older than me. I'm 40, and she's a Harry Styles fan, and I just thought it was funny and fun and dopamine dressing, and you know, I had thought to myself like, oh, it's okay, because you know, that's chunky wool, that's gonna go so fast. I find it really uncomfortable to knit with chunky needles. I really, like, it doesn't sit right in my hands, and so it dragged a bit. It was also obviously patchworky, so there were some squares which were just straight knit stitch, lovely and easy. There were some that were colour work, so let me show you this beauty. There you go. So I did make some modifications. This is a free pattern. It's a one size fits all pattern. So in the pattern, I think there's 6 squares going across. I've only done 4. As you can tell, it's swamping me as it is. I also obviously had to match that in the front, so instead of 3 panels for each front side, I've only got 2. The other modification I did was the button bands, the collar and the hem were all knit separately in the pattern and stitched on. I've got no problem seaming together a piece of knitting. I have mattress stitch just tickles something wonderful in my brain. It's such a satisfying thing to do, which is not to say I fancy doing it all the time, let's be fair, but when that mood hits, it's a satisfying moment. I couldn't mattress stitch this. I just did a very, very basic a bit pants, but then the actual Harry Styles one is done that way as well. It's actually done the wrong way, so you can see where it seamed on the front. But I didn't see the need in knitting up the hem, the collar, the button bands and the cuffs separately when I could just pick up stitches. So I picked up 3 in every 4. The only time I had to really worry was making sure I had enough for the collar, and making sure that the button bands were the same number. So that was my only modifications with that. I don't tend to do modifications, to be honest with you, although saying that, I've just told you that I've knit this nurtured with no texture. Yes, but this was going to be ginormous. It's already going to be lovely and snuggly for her to wrap up in, and I just didn't see the need to make it any larger. So yeah, she's your average size human, that'll fit great. The other thing that I finished prior to that is a pair of toe-up socks. These are already well worn, sorry, bit bobbly. They're knit in RICO Design Socks Sprinkly Stripey in shade number 6. And the toe-up pattern that I used is a mishmash of other patterns. So I was always a cuff down knitter. Couldn't see why I would want to do toe up, but I have a chronic health condition, and one of my weird and wonderful symptoms is that my feet and ankles get very, very cold and very, very hurty. So what I wanted to be able to do was do it toe up so that I could carry on knitting until I pretty much ran out of yarn in the leg. So these are very, very long in the leg, but absolutely perfect for scrunching down and keeping my ankles nice and toasty. And then the third and final, most recently finished object, because it's not fair to say it like I've completed it in the last week, because I have a full-time job. I have a border collie that needs walking. This is not normal for me. This is not going to be a podcast where I churn out faux after faux after faux. This is the classic cami, or camisole, by Darling Jadore. I made size 3, so I think I mentioned before, my bust currently is a 37. Up until maybe a year ago it was a 39 inch. I was a little bit worried because, as previously mentioned, I'm quite busty. The triangles as I was knitting them were seeming very small and very flimsy, but actually it looks great. The straps are an I-cord that you knit, and I have done them ever so slightly too long, so when I last put it on, you know, it slips ever so slightly and you can see just the very top of your bra cup, and when I did that and twiddled it around my thumb, it wasn't. So I just need to pull that in a little bit and then it'll be absolutely perfect and it won't show any of my bra cup to anybody, which would be nice. The yarn is West Yorkshire Spinners Exquisite 4-ply. It's 80% Falkland wool and 20% mulberry silk, and it's got a lovely drape and movement to it. So this is going to look very cute tucked into high-waisted skirts and trousers, and probably under. I've got a jumper by Junko. Oh, I can't remember her surname, but it falls off my shoulder and stuff, so this will look quite nice underneath it as well. I didn't do anything different in that. I made size 3, and the colour is Noir 99. It's just the black one, which I got for half price at Wool Warehouse. I don't have a local knitting shop close to me. The nearest one is about 40 minutes away, and it's not very good. It's just not very good. There's no local, there's no indie, it's all very, very run of the mill, what you would expect to find in a British craft shop. None of it ever changes either, so it's very rare that you see anything different in there from what you saw previously. So I do tend to shop online for a lot of my wool, and yeah, I did check before I did this, there are still some shades of the West Yorkshire Spinners 4-ply, Exquisite 4-ply in their sale. I don't think black is one of them though, but there was a very nice dark grey. So those are my most recently finished objects, because we're not going to play pretend that I am a super, super, super productive knitter, because I am not. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 whips. We're at 17 minutes, so I think I probably won't go into all of them. Okay. So the first one I want to show you is the Leo hat by Susanne Müller. She's got an ampersand on the U, so I think it must be like a Müller. And it's a leopard print hat, which I'm super excited about. So when I said that there are some things that I knit on that I haven't seen anybody else knit on, I thought it would probably maybe be interesting to tell you how I come across patterns sometimes. So I've only recently started getting into leopard print. I think there's a bit of a hangover that I was maybe, you know, it was a bit trashy growing up. I don't believe that at all. But, you know, sometimes it takes a while to form your own opinions and go, no, it's fine. I was on Instagram, and Instagram loves to advertise. And if I'm wearing a cardigan or a jumper or a hat or mittens, anything woolly, I've made it. There is not a single shop bought woolly item in my wardrobe, right? But I think Urban Outfitters advertised to me a leopard print fluffy, like so fluffy, like as in Minions, it's so fluffy I'm gonna die, cardigan, and I really liked the look of it, and I kind of went, do you know what, would I do a colourwork cardigan like that? And I thought probably not, that's quite a big undertaking for me. But when I clicked on it, and this ties back in with everything I was saying about that documentary and microplastics in your clothes and all of that, I am now not purchasing anything that has microplastics in it. I'm literally checking the fabric content of everything that I buy before I buy it, and this cardigan was 100% polyamide or whatever it was. The other problem with those kind of things is that it's just sweaty and clammy and manky. Like, it's just a bit minging, and, you know, wool breathes. Even if you get a little bit too warm, you're not gonna, you know, you're not gonna stank the place up. But it made me go, huh, can I search leopard print in Ravelry? Is it going to return anything? And it did. And there are Ravelry patterns for leopard print cardigans and many, many other things. Other things that I have searched that I've seen and kind of giggled at and wondered whether I would want was like a black cardigan with like a white skeleton on it. And I think that was Free People or Urban Outfitters again, or H&M or ASOS or whatever it is. I try not to get swept up in marketing and capitalism and consumerism and that culture. And one of my kind of life hacks is, okay, well, if it's knitted, can I make it? Can I find anything on Ravelry? So this Leo hack came up, and I had the black wool, which is Drops Alaska, left over from a cardigan that I subsequently shrunk and need to reknit because it was absolutely perfect. Completely filled a hole in my wardrobe that I really needed filling. But this was the leftover black. It's held with Drops Kid Silk black, which I happen to have in stash, and then the goldy beigey colour is Almond, held with their version, the Kid Silk Haze version as well. It's not Haze, it's just Kid Silk, sorry. So yeah, I'm at the point where I can do the crown decreases. So you knit, it's a charted pattern, it's paid for. You knit one full chart, then a few more rows, and then there's a separate chart for the decreases. And yeah, I'm not a fantastic colourwork knitter. I'm a English thrower. My nan taught me when I was a little girl. And although I haven't been knitting since I was a little girl, I've only been doing it for about 15-ish, I was going to say only 15 plus years. Once it's in there, I think I can't change who I am. So when I knit colourwork, I have tried to hold one colour in one hand and one in the other. I have successfully knit items like that, but I do struggle with the tension being the same for both colours. So this project, I've got it on magic loop because I don't have DPNs. I used to, but I haven't used them in years and years. I magic loop everything. I've just been dropping the colour that I don't need and picking up the colour that I do. So if it was a jumper, I probably wouldn't, and I would probably push myself to practice using both hands. But you know, this project isn't going to last forever. It's Aran with the lace weight on top, so it's very thick, it's very chunky. You might be able to see I've added 2 stitch markers, just because that's the pattern repeat, so it just gives me a heads up if I've done something wrong. I can quickly knit back and fix it. But those are my floats, which I'm so freaking happy with. Like, oh, how satisfying is that? So yeah, I'm very excited about that. I think it's going to look marvellous. I'm not going to put it on now because although my hair has been straightened, I am a curly girl and there's only so much you can mess with that. So that's one. And the other thing that I am knitting on is a Fisherman's rib jumper. It's called... Honestly, the Lion brand Fisherman's wool smells absolutely freaking amazing. It smells like what my nan's flat used to smell like when I was a little girl. Which is exactly what her larder used to smell, which is so weird. So she was a knitter, but I don't know. She had like this big larder that was like built into her kitchen. And it had like one of those like wooden doors that you had to... And it just smelled amazing. It just always smelled amazing. Like, you know, the same way that health food stores all smell the same. Like, it was that kind of situation. And it's kind of this. And I don't know why her pantry would smell that way, but it did. And there was never any wool in it. So there's no rhyme or reason. I can't tell you why I think it's this way, but I think my nan's flat smell of woolly wool. This is sorry. This is Hug Yourself Fisherman's Rib by Michelle Jones. And it's called MMMaking. It's a paid for pattern. I'm making size 3. I tend to make size 3. That tends to be the medium size. It's going to have a drop shoulder, so oop, 1 second. I have dropped a stitch. So that's why it looks so broad on me. This is the front. It is the squishiest, loveliest. I've never done Fisherman's rib before. My nan kind of isn't available to talk to anymore. She's got dementia and is in a care home. But I can remember years and years ago talking to her about Fisherman's rib and her going, takes forever. So I wish I could talk to her about it because it is taking forever. But I have to say, the way this fabric is knitting up is just so squishy, and it's got such a lot of kind of depth to it because it's done on both sides. I'm really in love with it. Considering how long it's taking, I could not be happier with this. So that's that. It's in natural brown, lion brand Fisherman's wool. So that's that one. I should maybe put these behind me so that I know what I've worked through and what I have left to go. So I think the Leo hat will be off the needle soon. That one won't be. Probably won't bring it up again, don't worry. The other thing I'm knitting on is the lightweight reversible lace cardigan by Lenny and Louise. And it is, I've finished the back. This is in Yarnsmiths Cotton DK. So that's Wool Warehouse's own brand cotton. They've recently released it maybe around June. And we're selling it for £1 a ball. A great British pound a ball, people. So I've finished the back. I thought it was going to be a different kind of colour when it turned out bright. And it's coming out pretty spot on, I think. I just wondered if it lent a little bit more to like poopy colour than, you know, nice kind of boho-y, kind of neutral, kind of with a bit of punch, you know. So that's the back. I've started the front and I'm ready for the armhole decreases on one side. But frankly, we've moved into autumn. It's not autumn yet, it's the 18th of September. We've got 4 days until the equinox, but this doesn't feel quite as important to finish because woolly wool adventures are on the horizon. But it is lovely. I've really enjoyed it. It's a paid for pattern. This is the bronze colour of the Yarnsmiths DK. I'm not sure if it's still on offer because they've also brought out other new wool since this one. So probably that's what's on discount now instead. But it is a really nice cotton. I know people talk about it hurting their hands. I haven't had that. And I guess the only other thing to say is whenever anybody says put your yarn on a spare bit of wool or whatever, I always do it on those tiny, I mean, I bought my Knit Pro needles years and years and years ago, like probably 10 plus years ago, but they came with these oddly tiny cords, and I never figured out what the hell you would knit with them because it was like, that's just gonna hurt my hand, no? Like, I can't knit on really short needles for socks or anything, so I was like, but I've kept them and I use them whenever I've got to put sleeves on hold or, you know, whatever the instruction is. And then that way I'm not having to thread my needle through a bit that's on a bit of random wool and it's awkward and, you know, have I picked it up in the right direction or not? I can just literally stick a needle onto this, knit the first bit and then put it onto a bigger needle. So yeah, that's the lightweight reversible cardigan by Lenny and Louise. It's in DK weight yarn. It's got a really nice heft to it. I made another jumper, the Salty Days sweater by Veronica Lindberg, in cream. And yeah, that knit up really nice as well in the same wool. So I am excited to get that done. I still think I'll wear it in the cooler weather, but it's just taken a bit of a back seat, to be honest. Also, my work has been really brain taxing, so I haven't really had the ability to sit and look at a lace pattern. It's charted. The instructions are okay. I did balls up the decreases on this, so you can see the decreases that go up here, and I'd carried on using the lace pattern when I shouldn't have, so my yarn overs meant that it was kind of doing this. So I did have to go back and fix that. So I wouldn't say it's the clearest pattern I've ever read. It definitely was frustrating at that point, but I think it on it up really lovely in the end, and it was just a bit of a lesson learned to me that I couldn't do it half asleep or with half a brain cell. So that's that one. And then the next thing that I've got is the Heirloom Quilt Cardigan by Katryn Seeburger, and this is basically what it sounds like. It's like an heirloom quilt, so this will be that star motif that's kind of synonymous. This is using Rowan Felted Tweed DK. I've got a number of different colours waiting, raring to go, so it's going to be super duper autumnal and scrummy. It's really oversized, so I think it's going to be like having yourself wrapped up in a lovely little hug. I've been mooning over this pattern for ages. I tried to cast it on last year. I had done colour work before, but I had never done intarsia, and had no idea, none what I was doing. I was like, yeah, just come along and you come back, and then you go along and you come back, and yeah, you know, you'll have to do colour work on a Purl side, and that's a thing on its own, but it's fine, it's not a problem. And what I ended up with was like a complete gap between the two colours. I was like, oh. So this is not in any way a paid promotion, but I did actually use a craftsy class to figure out how it is that you wrap the colours together so that you don't get that very distinct hole between one colour and the other. So that's my first attempt at it. I'm not massively happy with the tension in the bottom part of it. It doesn't quite lay as flat in the first two triangles as it does on the bit above. So I may treat this as a learning experience. That's a bit laddery as well. And keep this one to one side, and then maybe make it again later. And yeah, this one can just go somewhere else. So that's that one. So what have I told you about? I've told you about that and that and that and that. Okay, that's another paid for pattern, by the way. And I think it says to hold 2 strands of fingering weight doubled. So it's actually designed to use up scraps, but I was so loved the pattern picture that I was like, I'm just doing it. This is just the way life will be. All right. So I don't often copy people, but I really did. Oh yeah. Okay, so I can't really show you this because it's a paid for pattern, but whenever there's a chart, that's as much as I'm showing, I use a magnetic board, and so you can clamp it to the top and use a ruler to move up the chart as you go so you don't lose your place. So cables, colour work, whatever, lace work, it's a very useful thing. Just FYI. So this is the Zephyr Tides cardigan. Who's this by? Oh, I can't remember. I haven't written it down. Zephyr Tides is by, one second, Courtney Little. Sorry, I've not done a very good job at showing you all what I'm talking about. So it looks like this. I am using the West Yorkshire Spinners Exquisite 4-ply again. So again, got this half price at Wool Warehouse. The way that this comes together is you knit from the bottom up and you do just plain garter stitch with an I-cord edge, and then it moves into a kind of double moss stitch for kind of from the armpit upwards, and then it's the big balloony sleeves. This wool is, what colour is this? So this is Dusk, 403 Dusk. And again, that drape is just so scrummy. Hello Frankleface, this is my cat who's talking to me. So yeah, that's the right side, and it will just come up like that. So I'm very excited about that. I haven't seen anyone knit that one either. Again, came out of probably searching boho patterns or something like that. But really happy to have found that. It's fingering weight, so it's not really moving either. It's in the same category as, well, first of all, it's a 4-row repeat, so I have to kind of keep track of what I'm doing. So that's also a lot for my brain right now. But it's 4-ply and we're moving into woolly weather. So, you know, that's not, it's taken a hit. It's taken a hit. And then this is the Bella cardigan. Looks like I am going to show you all of my whips. By Irene Lynn. I am knitting down the body. So this one was top down. And there is a really, really lovely lacy pattern that is going to go down the sleeves. So it's across there. This is Woolyknit British Wool 4-ply in their black colour. I ordered this online. It's 500 grams and I think it was like 20 quid or something. It was an absolute bargain. So you can see it's kind of fuzzy, but it's not too soothy. It's quite soft and I think it will really block out nicely. This one, I am working on it bit by bit by bit. It's black, so you know, good lighting is a must. And also it's twisted rib, so there's nothing mindless about that. I need to be able to look at it, so I need to not be wanting to read or watch telly or whatever it is. It needs to be in front of something that is inconsequential. Excuse me. So that's that. So that's Irene Lynn. I'm third size. It's always a third size. It's always a third size. I will tell you if it's not the third size. And then I think last but not least is the half and half triangle wrap by Purl Soho. Irene Lynn's pattern is a paid pattern. This is a freebie. I'm knitting the biggest size and it's in Drops Flora in beige, and I have just literally added the off-white, so I'm now going to start going down the other triangle and it will be a lovely big scrummy shawl for me to wrap up in, or a bit of a lap blanket at my desk maybe. So that's that. Oh, there is one more thing. One more, which is using the leftover Lion Brand wool from my husband's jumper. I am making a pair of socks. This is the Irish Wellington socks by Aileen Cahill. They're top down. Obviously, it's the first one. This is as far as I've gotten. I added the little stripe in, so it looks like a pair of cruise socks. These are being knit on 5mm needles because I didn't have 4.5mm needles spare. Everything else is being knit on the recommended needle sizes that I've talked about today. Yeah, so again, wanting to look after my chronically cold feet. The pattern says that this is for going over normal socks to put into Wellington boots. I don't think I want to put them into any of my boots. I don't want to stretch my boots out by wearing 2 pairs of socks, one of which is Aran weight, but I am definitely looking forward to wearing these around the house and to bed. So that's that. That's absolutely everything that I have on the needles, bar a blanket that I've had on the needles for about 5 years. It's one of those scrappy ones. We won't worry about that. So yeah, that's that. I hope that that was interesting. I hope that you saw some patterns that you hadn't seen before. I know things like the half and half wrap have been out for years and years and years. I hope, yeah, I think, to be honest, I don't think any of these are new out patterns, but they were definitely new to me patterns when I picked them up and picked them out and realised that I wanted to make them. So hopefully you've got a little bit of inspo or designers that you want to check out. And then I thought I would just tell you about a couple of the books I'm reading. So I am a massive bookworm. I always have about 10 on the go. I'm not too great at reading non-fiction. So as much as I find non-fiction really, really interesting, I tend to read when I go to bed, or first thing in the morning before work. So I'm always a little bit dopey, and sometimes I will get into bed and go, I need to read something that's not important, that I don't need to follow the thread of, that I don't need to follow, you know, characters or storylines or whatever it may be. So if it's too intricate, I kind of can't do it. So that's when I tend to go to Kindle Unlimited, and I will pay for 1 month at a time and read a bit of trashy romance for a while, just because I need a happily ever after, and I need a storyline that takes no following whatsoever. So I thought I would pick 3 out of the 11 that I've got on the go at the moment. The first one is the second book in the series of Rebecca Yarros, the Empyrean series, I think it's called. This is my issue with fantasy books. I love them. I really loved the first one of this, The Fourth Wing. I really loved it. And then when I got this one and it was even longer, I was like, more to sink my teeth into. And I have really enjoyed this one as well. I'm not going to tell you naff all about the plot, because one of my biggest bugbears is when somebody goes, oh no, I'm not going to spoil you, and then they'll say something that just about spoils it, like, wasn't that plot twist amazing? Or you're never going to believe what happens. Because then I spend the entire run-up going, is something about to drop? What's going to drop? What's happening? I don't know what to do. Is it coming? Is it coming? Is it coming? Is it coming? So I'm not going to tell you anything about this book other than it's a fantasy. It's the second in a series. The first one is The Fourth Wing. It's very, very good. I think it counts as YA, so young adult. There are a handful of explicit sex scenes, so, you know, I wouldn't be recommending it to my YA niece or cousin. I can't wait for them to age out so I can recommend it, because it's a fantastic series and I think they'd really love it. But it's not appropriate right now for an 11-year-old and a 12-year-old. So yeah, it's really, really, really good. I got mine second hand in the Amazon warehouse. So my other life hack for Amazon, for Instagram. So I have a love-hate relationship with Instagram. I find it really inspirational. I really love it. I like it in terms of knitting inspo, sewing inspo, books, TV, home, garden, recipes, like, it's so inspiring. Even cleaning the house. If I can't be bothered to clean the house, I will watch somebody else clean theirs and it lights a fire under my backside and I go off and do mine. I don't like the consumerism on it. I don't like how it's like, these are my Amazon finds, or, you know, it's the whole fast fashion. I'm not into it. Just, yeah, it's, or, you know, like, oh, it's fall, so we must go off and buy a bunch of decor that we didn't have last year because we don't want our house to look the same as it did last year. And I don't really buy into it. I'm really sorry. Like, no judgment if you do. It's just not where my brain is at anymore. Mainly because I don't want to store all that stuff, to be honest with you. I just don't. It's just not my jam. I've got enough hobbies on the go that I'm storing stuff for that. And even that is pared down. I sold a lot on eBay at the beginning of the year when I had this revelation about I just want to knit with 100% plant-based fibres or wool, or yeah. So either I will buy second-hand books off of Amazon, or I had to do it with this because it was the sequel and I knew that I wanted it and I didn't want to get it from the library and have to hand it back. But my library has a really great app and you can order in books for collection to your local library. So anytime I see a book that I fancy reading, I go straight onto the library app, see if it's available in there, put it in for collection, and something wonderful happens where I magically forget in between, and it can be months in between or it can be a couple of weeks, but I'll suddenly get an email from the library saying, oh, your book is ready to be picked. I'm like, what was that book? Oh, that sounds amazing. So I get like a little, like, it's like a blind date with a book, but I've already vetted it. It's amazing. So that's Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. You cannot read this one without reading the previous one. I think there would be a lot of holes in your storyline knowledge, but having already finished the first one, can't really recommend that one to you, but I do highly recommend it. And I've got the third and final one waiting on my bookshelf for me. The other book I wanted to talk to you about is called Women's Work, The First 20,000 Years, and it's a history of our understanding of women's lives in early societies, and it talks about fibre and archaeological digs that found the first fibres and how they were pulled together, and the reasoning behind assuming that it was women's work rather than men's work. And yeah, it's a very fascinating history of craft and how women made and wore cloth, and also what those garments possibly meant as well in terms of, you know, single, married, available, not. So it's really interesting. I'm only 60 odd pages in, but it's really good. I'm really enjoying it, and I'm really excited to send it on to my auntie in Orkney, who is a librarian and sewist and fibre artist herself. And then the last book I was going to talk to you about is this one. So this is a dog-eared library copy. Maggie O'Farrell is an Irish author. My family on one side are Irish, going back a couple of generations. I've got Irish cousins. Hasn't everybody who's got Irish family? I love Irish authors. There is something rhythmical and there's a certain cadence. There's a way of speaking that is just beautifully Irish. And whenever I pick up an Irish author's book, whether that's, you know, Maggie O'Farrell or whether it's Sally Rooney or any of those amazing authors, it's like sinking into a really comfortable, familiar chair, and I always really love it, and it's always really soothing and comforting, and it's just like picking up your favourite author. The first one of hers that I read was Lessons in a Heatwave, I think it's called, something Heatwave, and it was really funny and really good, and it was just a hanging out with a family for a little while through this heat wave in England, and they're Irish but have come over here, and it was really good. This one is about a marriage, I guess, at the centre of it. It's told by many different points of view, not just the people in the marriage, so it also tells it from the point of view of their friends, of their family, of people they used to be with. It jumps around in time. It's a really wonderful book. It's called This Must Be the Place. I'm very nearly done. But again, work's just been mad and my brain hasn't had the power to sit and read. So yeah, this is a very good book. And it also said something really wonderful. One character at one point is commenting on another character's love for them, and like I said, I read a lot of romance books on Kindle Unlimited across many different tropes, and it can be light and fluffy, or it can be really dark, or it can be really smutty, or it can be whatever. There is a huge element in reading those romance books of knowing that there are not many people who replicate those relationships in real life, however dark and dangerous it is versus however light and fluffy and swoony it is. The likelihood of you finding that person in real life is slim, and you have to love in your own way. You can't just emulate what you've read or what you've seen on screen, or everybody has a unique way of loving, and everybody has a unique way of receiving that love and reciprocating that love. And I'm talking about unrealistic expectations, and this book talked about how one of the characters was so certain and so complete in the way that they loved that Maggie O'Farrell describes it as ferocious in its certainty and completeness, that they just know that that's the person they're meant to love, and they love them with a ferocity which is just beautiful to me. I think it's very beautiful. Another quote from a book that I love about love is John Green in The Fault in Our Stars says, "I fell in love the way you fall asleep, suddenly and then all at once," which I love it. Final two things I was going to say to you is what I've been watching. So me and my other half have been watching 4 Seasons on Netflix with Tina Fey and Steve Carell. Oh, so good. So good. There's only 8 episodes. We're about 6 episodes in. My God, I want a friendship group like that friendship group. I adore them. They are just the best people ever. It's just that gorgeous balance of take no shit. They're not going to allow you to get away with anything. They're always going to tell you the truth, but they clearly adore you and they clearly love you and love the very bones of you. Like, it's brilliant. It's really, really lovely. And then I recently watched a really, really, really good film that I wasn't... So I randomly came across the trailer for it. I don't know whether you do this, but I get absolute paralysis when it comes to the TV. And if my other half isn't here, I will typically just not put it on. Or if it goes on, it's knitting podcasts and that's it. Sometimes a documentary about a cult. I'm quite into cult documentaries. Or true crime, but I've absolutely knackered true crime, if I'm honest with you. I feel like I've level complete done. I also got to the point where I was like, this is a really worrying situation, that in order for me to have entertainment, somebody needs to die or be screwed over. So I was like, I think I need to take a step back from that. So I was fumbling around, and we've got Amazon Prime and we've got Netflix and we've got Disney Plus and, you know, BBC iPlayer and all of that. And it's just like so many options and it's so hard to narrow it down. And this trailer started for this Ben Affleck film. And I don't have the best opinion of Ben Affleck. My introduction to him was in Mallrats by Kevin Smith. And everybody just kind of takes the pee out of him. So, yeah, but he was brilliant, and it's called The Tender Bar, as in tender is the heart, and it's based on a true story. It's based on a memoir, and it is just the most beautiful story of family and it taking a village and coming of age and the love and support that you get from found family and people who step in when people can't step up. And it was just so scrummy. And I watched it with my other half and my brother-in-law, and it ended and we all looked at each other and went, I could have watched that for another 2 or 3 hours. It was so beautifully done. I think it was directed by George Clooney, although that's not a selling point for me personally. I don't think I've watched any other films directed by George Clooney, so it wasn't like I was like, oh yes, huge fan. But it was really wonderful. It was just, you know, and it wasn't easy, obviously. Like, there were, for you to find a family, you have to have lost some family, and there were, you know, difficult bits in there. But yeah, it was just lovely. Like, there was also parts in the film where Ben Affleck plays the uncle and he runs a bar, and the people who are like the kind of Cheers-esque huddled around the bar 24/7, like, how do they even afford to drink this much because they're clearly not going to work? They became the found family as well. And it, like, and again, it was that thing of like, take no shit, you're not going to get away with anything, but they're going to love you so completely and so totally and be behind you and cheerlead for you. And it was just, yeah, loved it, really loved it. So that's my recommendations. 3 books that I'm enjoying very, very much, a TV show and a movie that I will definitely watch again at some point. So yeah, I think that takes us nearly to an hour. So I don't know what I'm going to call this. By the time you watch this, if anyone watches it, then it will have a name, because I will obviously have to name the channel. But I haven't got that far yet. I just haven't done it. And I don't think I'm going to do any fancy editing, because as previously mentioned, I do not have the brain capacity for much at the moment. So, you know, we may evolve. My husband happens to be an editor as well, so, you know, I've got no freaking excuse. But at the moment, the way I want this to be is fluid and organic, and I fancy talking to you, and I fancy adding my voice to that conversation, and I fancy saying, look at this thing that I'm knitting on that I'm really excited about that I haven't seen anyone else knit on. Like, yeah, I just want it to be flexible and kind to me. I don't want to feel that this is a chore or an obligation or anything like that. I want it to be a nice little space for me to come and talk to people about my hobbies, because I don't have anyone I can talk to about it. So yeah, I hope that you are all happy and healthy and working on things that light you up and fill your cup, and you're excited to gift to somebody or wear or work on, and whether it's a quick gratifying win or whether it's a more labour intensive but beautiful piece, I hope you are having the most fun possible having these projects on your laps. And yeah, happy knitting.